She had her hand on his arm again. Right there at our backyard barbecue, between the potato salad and the sweating beer cooler, fingers lightly grazing his wrist like it was some damn social tick. The guy, Nick from her office, laughed too hard at one of her recycled punchlines, and she tilted her head the way she always did when she wanted to be seen. I'd seen it before 100 times. Only it used to be directed at me. That night was supposed to be casual. We were hosting. Burgers, lawn chairs, citronella candles. Friends, coworkers, some neighbors I didn't care for. And her, in that sleeveless navy dress she forgot to tell me was new. The same one I'd find later, crumpled in the laundry with a whiff of cologne I don't wear. She was too loud, too touchy, too obvious, and people noticed. I caught Janice, our neighbor from 2 doors down, raise an eyebrow at the way Lauren leaned into Nick's side when they posed for a photo. I stood there flipping burgers while the whispers started circulating like flies around the grill. Inside, in the kitchen, she cornered me. The music from outside was muffled behind the patio door. She was barefoot, holding a beer bottle by the neck, and smirking like a smug teenager trying to get a rise out of Dad. "Are you jealous?" she asked, tilting her head just enough to pretend she was being playful. I looked at her, long enough for the smirk to falter. "No," I said, calm as a monk. "Just finished." She blinked. Her mouth opened a fraction. And for once, she had no comeback. I turned around, walked back out, and flipped the last burger. You could call it the moment my marriage ended, but that'd be giving it too much drama. The marriage had been wheezing along on fumes for years. That moment in the kitchen, that was just the click of the lighter. Everything was already soaked in gasoline. And no, I didn't cause a scene. No yelling. No drinks thrown. I went back to the table and laughed at something our neighbor's kid said about hot sauce. She stood frozen inside with the bottle opener still in her hand. I heard the patio door slide shut 5 minutes later. She tried to sit beside me, but I shifted. Subtly. Just enough. It's funny how silence can be louder than screaming. And if you're still with me right now, take a second to subscribe. More than 97% of people who listen never do, but it helps the team keep telling these stories that hit home. Back to the barbecue. She kept trying to catch my eye. I let her, because once you've made your decision, watching the other person realize it's too late has a dark, clean satisfaction. When the guests left, she followed me into the bedroom. I was brushing my teeth. She leaned against the doorframe and tried to play it down. "You were a little cold tonight." "Cold?" I said, mouth full of toothpaste. "Interesting choice of word." She huffed. "Nick's going through a divorce. He needed to laugh. His loss." I spit, rinsed, turned off the light. She was still waiting. "So, we're not going to talk about it?" "We are talking. You just don't like the answers." I got into bed. She stayed standing. "You're being ridiculous." "Sure," I said, flipping onto my side. "Let me know when I start acting jealous." It was the last real conversation we had. The next morning, she woke up alone. No note, no suitcase, no explanation. But she didn't need one. She just didn't know it yet. Sunday morning, 6:42 a.m. sunlight pours through the slats of the blinds, warming the empty half of the bed where I used to sleep. She stretches, her hand blindly reaching for me, maybe expecting the warmth of my back or the rough skin of my arm. Instead, she gets a pillow and a cold sheet. She sits up, frowns. Downstairs, it's too quiet. No NPR murmuring from the kitchen radio. No clinking spoon against coffee mug. Just the faint hum of the fridge and the creak of the floor as she walks. She calls my name once, then again. Still nothing. The coffee pot is clean and dry. No signs of my usual morning ritual. No used filters, no spoon in the sink. The toaster is unplugged. My phone charger is gone from the kitchen outlet. Her slippers scrape across the tile as she moves to the mudroom. The coat hook where I hang my windbreaker is bare. My hiking boots? Gone. The row of keys on the magnetic board? My car fob isn't among them. Panic doesn't come in waves. It creeps in like smoke under the door. Thin, silent, toxic. She moves to the garage and hits the button. The door lifts to reveal a hollow space. My side is empty. The oil spot on the concrete is the only sign I was ever there. Next to it, a small stack of boxes labeled garage junk in my handwriting. Neat, deliberate. She rushes back inside, opens the bedroom dresser. Top drawer, empty. Where rows of rolled socks used to be, nothing. Ties? Gone. Underwear? Vanished. Passport folder that used to sit under my winter sweaters? Missing. In the drawer where she keeps candles and batteries, there's something new. Plain white envelope. Her name on the front. My handwriting again. She opens it with trembling fingers. Inside is a single page folded in thirds. Thick paper. Not printed. Handwritten, in clean, blocky letters. Lauren, this is not abandonment. This is closure. Everything you'll ask has already been answered. The house is yours. The savings are split, filed, and finalized with the bank. See included statements. The cars are separate. Registration documents updated. My personal belongings have been removed. The separation agreement has been notarized, signed, and emailed to your attorney. There will be no drama, no contact, no games. This is simply done. J. Behind it, the notarized separation agreement perfectly tabbed with every asset categorized. Copies of emails already sent to lawyers and banks. Dates, reference numbers. Even the old joint Netflix password, changed and handed over like a line in a will. The whole thing is so surgical. That's when it hits her. I didn't storm out. I didn't snap. I planned this. Every step, every signature, every exit point. She drops into the kitchen chair, envelope clutched in both hands like it might burst into flames. Her phone buzzes. A text from her sister. Everything okay? Heard some weird stuff last night. Call me. Weird stuff. Yeah. She opens the fridge. Even the leftover ribs from the barbecue are gone. I must have taken them on my way out. One final little detail. One last private joke. She rereads the letter for the third time, then flips it over, hoping for a postscript. A softening. A breadcrumb. Nothing. Just a signature. J. She doesn't cry. Not yet. She just sits, barefoot, staring at the granite countertop we picked out together 10 years ago. And that's the thing that really stings. I didn't take the countertop, or the house, or the car. I just took myself. Monday morning. She skips her usual latte stop and heads straight to the bank. Teeth still gritty from last night's glass of wine she drank alone. The envelope's been sitting on the passenger seat since she left the house. Unread again, but not untouched. She's held it too many times, hoping the ink might change if she stares long enough. The moment she steps into the branch, the air-conditioned chill bites through her cardigan. Same branch manager, same fake ferns in the corners, same framed photo of a golden retriever from a charity calendar on the wall. Familiarity used to be comforting. Now it feels like a trap closing in. She approaches the teller, slides her card forward, and forces a smile. I just need to transfer some funds. From our joint account. The woman types, pauses, types again. I'm sorry, Ms. Decker. It looks like this account was closed on Friday. Lauren blinks. Closed? That can't be right. She fishes in her bag, pulls out the matching debit card. No, this one. The checking. Under both our names. Yes, I see it here. It was a joint account. But your husband submitted the dissolution documents last month. Finalized Friday. Lauren's mouth goes dry. I wasn't notified. The teller looks sympathetic but unmoved. All notices were mailed to the alternate address on file. What alternate address? I'm not permitted to disclose that, ma'am. A security guard shifts behind her. Nothing aggressive, just presence. Lauren feels the heat rising behind her ears. I'd like to speak with the manager, she says, sharper than intended. Within 5 minutes, she's seated in a small glass office across from a man with graying temples and a binder already open on his desk. We received the signed documentation from Mr. Decker on September 2nd, he says calmly, turning the binder around to show her the paperwork. He provided notarized proof of identity, a new mailing address, and confirmed asset division. Everything aligns with the separation agreement you receive. I didn't receive anything. You were copied on the transaction summary via certified mail. I never signed anything, she snaps. You didn't need to, he replies, still polite. He exercised his right to split jointly held assets under the legal conditions of a no-contest separation. Since your names were co-holders and not co-owners, and since the funds in the investment accounts were tied to premarital contributions from his trust. She's no longer listening. Trust. He used the trust. The one his grandfather set up. The one she always dismissed as a dusty folder in the filing cabinet. The one with terms too boring for her to read. She grips the arms of the chair as the manager continues. We also processed the closure of the investment account on Friday. The funds were transferred to an external custodian under Mr. Decker's name. As per the instructions on file, no joint disbursement was required. Her phone buzzes in her purse. She ignores it. What about the mortgage? That remains in your name. Your individual account was not affected. The monthly auto draft is still active. Of course it is. She pays the mortgage. He paid for everything else. She stands up too fast. The room tilts slightly. Is there anything else we can assist you with? The manager asks. She doesn't answer. Just walks out into the sun, which now feels too bright, like an interrogation lamp. Outside, she tries her card at the ATM anyway. Spits it back like a bad joke. Back in the car, she opens her banking app. Everything's grayed out. Password rejected. Two-factor authentication sent to a number she no longer recognizes. She calls the helpline, waits on hold, gets rerouted. Security questions she can't answer. New address? Last transaction? She doesn't know any of it. The voice on the other end is professional and firm. We're unable to verify your identity. You may visit your nearest branch with 2 forms of ID to request an audit. She doesn't scream, doesn't curse, just ends the call, then stares out the windshield at nothing. Every door she tries, he's already locked behind him. Every key she thought she had, replaced. This wasn't a man who panicked. This was a man who planned. Quietly, legally, completely. And for the first time, Lauren realizes this isn't the storm. It's the aftermath. By Tuesday, she's burning through contacts like matches. Friends, co-workers, even people she hadn't spoken to since their wedding. Nobody knows anything. Or maybe they do and just aren't saying. It's hard to tell. The pity in their voices sounds a lot like guilt. She finally calls Alan, his best friend since college, best man at their wedding, golf buddy, bourbon snob, the guy who once drove 6 hours just to help Jason move a sofa. She doesn't bother with pleasantries. Where the hell is he? Alan doesn't sound surprised. Doesn't even fake confusion. There's a pause. A long inhale. She imagines him sitting on his back porch with that ridiculous cigar he always pretended not to enjoy. He asked me 2 years ago, Alan says, how to disappear quietly. She almost drops the phone. What? Yeah, we were up at Lake Chelan. He was off. Said he was tired of feeling like a ghost in his own life. Said he wanted to know what it would take to just vanish. And you helped him? I thought it was hypothetical. Event. Like guys do. You didn't think maybe, just maybe, to tell me my husband was planning an escape route? Alan exhales, slow. I didn't think he'd actually do it. But when I saw your name pop up just now, I figured he finally did. She hangs up before she says something that can't be unsaid. 2 years. He'd been planning for 2 years. While she rolled her eyes at his quietness, mocked his taste in music, forgot to introduce him at work functions. While she spent weekends visiting her sister. While she laughed too loud at other men's jokes. Back at home, she pours herself a glass of Cabernet. Cheap, sharp, but still comfortingly bitter, and logs into Facebook. She hasn't checked his profile in days. He wasn't a frequent poster, never did status updates or memes, but there he is, posted 1 hour ago. A single photo, Jason on a sailboat, sunset bleeding into water, sky gold and lavender. He's holding the wheel, squinting into the horizon like a man with no rearview mirror. He looks leaner, tanned, relaxed in a way she's never seen. Beside him, a woman, early 40s maybe, long hair caught in the breeze. No cleavage, no red lips, just denim, sandals, and a calm smile that cuts deeper than any lingerie ever could. No ring on Jason's finger. The caption, "When noise ends, peace begins." No tags, no location, no audience selected, just public. She stares at the screen so long her eyes water. The glass of wine sits untouched. She clicks on the woman's profile. It's private. Only mutual friend Alan. Of course. She scrolls back to their own wedding album. 15 years ago. Jason in a rented tux, eyes soft, hands gentle on her waist. A man who said, "I do," like it was a vow, not a placeholder. She checks the comments under his new post. Alan. Knew you'd find your water eventually. A college friend. You look 10 years younger. Her cousin, her own cousin, reacts with a heart. The quiet realization creeps in again, like it did at the bank. No one's checking on her. No one's calling to ask how she's holding up. Because they know. They've known. Somehow, without ever raising his voice, Jason made sure everyone understood. This isn't a man running from something. This is a man who finally ran to something. She wants to hate him, wants to scream that he gave up, abandoned her, threw their life away. But that photo, he looks like a man who won. And the worst part? She doesn't even know what game they were playing. Wednesday morning, her phone buzzes while she's still in bed. Blinds shut tight like they could hold back the growing list of consequences waiting outside. Unknown number. She answers with that clipped, suspicious tone she's adopted lately. Half defense, half desperation. "Mrs. Decker?" The voice asks. Calm, male, professional. "Yes," she says cautiously. "This is Jeffrey Hanley, legal counsel for Mr. Jason Decker. I just wanted to confirm receipt of the deed transfer and settlement documents sent to your registered address last week." "What documents?" she snaps, already sitting upright, heart crawling up her throat. Well, I can resend them digitally if that's easier." He does. Within 5 minutes, there's a PDF sitting in her inbox. She opens it on her laptop, coffee forgotten on the counter, still dressed in last night's hoodie and leggings. Her eyes scan the heading. Deed transfer, primary residence, hereinafter referred to as the property. She scrolls. Faster. Panicked. Jason signed the house over to her. Completely. No conditions. No buyouts. No shared title. She owns it. A gift. That's what the language says. A voluntary and irrevocable conveyance of real property as a gift. At first, it almost feels like a win. A foothold in the freefall. Until she gets to Exhibit C. Itemized. Delinquent property tax. $8,423.47. HOA assessments. 5 quarters unpaid $2,750. Pending roof repair estimate. Filed. Unapproved $14,680. Plumbing inspection flagged. Foundational pipe corrosion. Structural engineer's note. Subflooring separation in guest bedroom. Possible settling. Municipal fine, unmowed lot behind fence $150. In bold. Grantee has acknowledged receipt of all pending liens, fines, and assessments and accepts the property, as is, with full responsibility and waiver of claim against grantor. At the very bottom, her own digital signature. She squints. It's time-stamped. It's from when she opened the document 5 days ago. When she clicked accept through her email client without reading the fine print, thinking it was part of the bank's joint account settlement. She thought she was agreeing to asset division. She signed it, legally, digitally. It's hers. And not just the house, the crumbling foundation, the legal baggage, the bleeding expenses. The whole damn anchor. She calls the lawyer back. "You tricked me," she says. "I didn't send anything deceptive, Mrs. Decker. The documents were clearly labeled. You should have warned me. Jason has complied fully with legal requirements. You retained your own counsel, or were advised to. That was noted." She hangs up mid-sentence. She stands in the center of the kitchen, paint peeling near the vent above the stove. She'd been nagging Jason to fix it for months. There's a faint smell coming from the basement, probably the sump pump again. She walks to the living room window. The HOA had sent another letter about the overgrown side path. She'd ignored it. Now it's her problem. The gutters? Clogged. The fence? Leaning. The chimney? Cracked. All small things when shared. Now they're hers. She doesn't cry. She doesn't scream. She just feels something worse. A slow, crawling bitterness settling behind her ribs. A gnawing realization. He didn't leave her with nothing. He left her with everything. Every neglected repair. Every deferred responsibility. Every unpaid bill tucked into the back of a drawer. He handed her the house like a gift-wrapped grenade and walked away. And she pulled the pin without even realizing it. By Friday, she's desperate to feel normal. So she does what she does best. Puts on a power blazer, slides into heels, and heads to the Regional Architecture Conference downtown. It's always been her stage. The networking, the panels, the banter over coffee with other mid-level professionals pretending they're still chasing dreams and not just clients. But something's off. The air's too polite. People she's known for a decade suddenly have urgent places to be the moment she approaches. One colleague nods vaguely and peels off toward the hors d'oeuvres. Another offers a thin smile and a catch you later, without stopping his stride. She blames the lighting, the mood, the economy. Then she catches sight of Melanie, HR liaison, local gossip sponge, and part-time yoga zealot. Melanie used to hang on her every word at these things. Now she sees Lauren, blinks, and turns. Lauren doesn't let her get away. "Melanie," she says, forcing a laugh. "Do I smell or something?" Melanie stops, shifts uncomfortably. "Lauren, look, I wasn't going to say anything, but people have read it." "Read what?" Melanie glances around, leans in, and whispers, "The blog." Lauren frowns. "What blog?" Melanie bites her lip. "I'm sorry, but it's about Jason, isn't it? Everyone thinks so, and you should know it's everywhere." She doesn't wait for a response, just walks off like she delivered a package no one wanted to sign for. Lauren ducks into a quiet hallway, pulls out her phone, and starts searching. It doesn't take long. The Silent Divorce, a series of essays about emotional neglect, mockery behind closed doors, and how silence can be a strategy, not a surrender. It's anonymous. No photos, no names, but the details. They're him. The writing is calm, measured, like Jason's voice if it had a pen. Stories of laughing through gritted teeth while his wife called him boring in front of friends. Accounts of being left alone at dinner parties while she worked the room, flirting in harmless ways that always seemed to cut just deep enough. And the kicker? The entries aren't angry. They're heartbreakingly neutral. A line stops her cold. There's a moment when you stop asking to be chosen. Not because you no longer care, but because you finally believe you deserve better silence than bad company. Over 80,000 shares. Thousands of comments. Women praising him for his restraint. Men writing about their own quiet exits. Therapists analyzing the patterns. The newest post. When you give someone the house, they think they won. Until they realize they inherited the rot, too. She feels the floor tilt beneath her heels. She scrolls through the comments, desperate to find someone, anyone who defends the wife in the story. There are none. And then she sees it. A photo posted in the comments by someone who clearly connected the dots. It's her. At last year's firm holiday party. Standing beside Jason, holding a martini, smirking while he looks away. Caption. This woman has no idea he's already left her. That's the worst part. It's gone viral again. She turns off her phone and walks straight out of the conference center without saying a word. No one follows. She used to be someone people looked up to, laughed with, invited. Now she's the silent cautionary tale no one wants to get too close to. The sympathy she thought she'd earned from being abandoned is gone with him, and what replaced it isn't silence. It's shame. Public and permanent. Saturday night, she's alone again. No texts, no plans, no one checking in. Her phone's been quiet all day except for one promotional email from a wine subscription she never canceled. Because you deserve better. Cute. She's curled up on the couch, same sweatpants 3 days running. Half-eaten pad thai on the coffee table. Wine glass in one hand, phone in the other. Scroll, scroll, scroll. And then she sees it. A photo. Actually, several photos. Tagged in a mutual friend's album. Reunion dinner at Kevin's. Long overdue. It's the group. Their group. Kevin, Maddie, Alan and his smug wife. A few others she hasn't seen in months. All crowded around a long oak table lit by soft candles and half-drunk bottles of Merlot. Laughter, toasts, smiles. And there, seated at the far end, raising a glass and leaning in toward conversation, Jason, wearing that linen button-down she once made fun of for being too retreat-core. His beard trimmed shorter than she remembered. Tan. Relaxed. Unbothered. He looks like the man she used to introduce proudly, before she started introducing herself first. And beside him, not too close but close enough, is her. The same woman from the boat photo. This time, she's wearing a dark green dress, hair up, no jewelry. Her hands are folded in front of her, her posture quiet. There's nothing flashy about her, and yet she somehow glows in the candlelight. Lauren doesn't recognize the face, but the dynamic is obvious. This is someone who listens when he talks. Someone who doesn't use charm like a weapon. She clicks through more pictures. Jason carving roasted chicken. Jason smiling, arm around Kevin. Jason standing with 2 glasses of wine, handing one. Not to her, but to that woman. No one looks uncomfortable. No one is avoiding him. He belongs. And she's not there. Not even invited. She checks her messages, searches her inbox, just to make sure. Nothing. And that's when she starts reading the comments. Maddie. So good to see everyone again. Felt like old times. Alan's wife. Still laughing about Kevin's story face with tears of joy. Kevin. Thanks for making the trip, Jay. Hope this becomes a yearly thing. And then, buried halfway down. One comment that punches harder than any insult. Funny how happy people get when they stop begging to be seen. No likes, no replies, just the truth hanging there, unsanitized. She stares at it for too long, because it's not just that he's moved on. It's that he edited her out. The story she used to star in has been rewritten, and she didn't make the director's cut. She was so sure she'd be the one telling the story of how he couldn't handle the pressure, how he gave up, how she endured. But no one's asking her side anymore. They already have his. And somehow, he told it without ever naming her. She closes the app, tosses her phone onto the couch, and picks up her wine glass, only to find it's empty. Like the room, like her inbox, like the invitations that no longer come. Sunday afternoon. Rain slicks the sidewalk as she steps out of the Uber in front of the gallery. She wasn't planning to go out. Not really. But her sister texted her a flyer that morning, a half-sarcastic jab. Looks like Jason finally used that camera for something other than dust collection. Decor. Quiet light. A small photography exhibit tucked into the back of a boutique gallery in the Arts District. She stares at the flyer longer than she should before finally pulling on a coat and heading out. Jason had always loved photography. Obsessively. He used to drag her out to catch blue hour over the lake, or pause mid-hike to frame the exact angle of light piercing through pine needles. She'd roll her eyes, arms crossed, waiting while he took forever to get the shot. She never asked to see the final images. She never thought they mattered. The gallery is smaller than she imagined. Bare concrete floors, soft jazz playing, curated silence humming between couples murmuring over frames. She moves past the first room quickly. Landscapes, some seascapes, all beautiful, soft, still. His signature in the bottom corner, J. Decker. Clean. Understated. The second room is darker, lit with track lights and deeper shadows. Portraits this time. People alone. Waiting. Half-lit in buses. Leaning against rain-streaked windows. Seated on stairwells mid-laugh. Real moments caught in still time. She recognizes none of them, and yet they all feel familiar. Like the parts of people you pass on the street and forget until you see them again in dreams. Then she reaches the final room. A plaque at the entrance reads, "Before they asked." A quote beneath it, "Most people only ask questions when they sense you're already leaving." The room is silent. Only 5 portraits hang here, each spaced precisely, each titled only by a date. She steps in slowly. The second-to-last image catches her breath. It's her. Her back is to the camera, but it's her. The curve of her shoulder. That specific tank top she wore on their last vacation. Her reflection caught in a warped antique mirror in the corner of a Parisian cafe. Her face is blurred, not by accident but intentionally. The focus is on the mirror, the glass, the soft edge of the distortion. She gasps without meaning to. No one turns. She never knew he took that photo. That day had been awful. She'd been short with him. Complained about the humidity, the service, the walking. She remembered rolling her eyes when he paused to explore the lighting inside that little cafe. And now here it was, immortalized. The moment he had already started letting go. She steps closer. There's a small plaque beside the frame. "When you see it, you'll know why I left." Her throat tightens. This wasn't a jab. It wasn't revenge. It was worse, it was art. He turned her neglect into narrative. Into something worth looking at. Not as a warning. Not as a punchline. As proof. Proof that he saw her, even when she didn't see him. That he watched her drift further and further away while she mocked his silence. While she discounted his devotion as weakness. While she flirted with men at barbecues and called it harmless. She looks at the image again. The way she's blurred. As if even in the frame of his camera, she was slipping out of focus. And yet he kept the photo. Printed it. Framed it. Named it. Before they asked. Not after. Not during. Before. She turns to leave the room and sees a guestbook on a pedestal. Pages filled with signatures, praise, tiny sketches of his landscapes. She sees one comment written in messy cursive. "I came for photography. I left with my gut in my throat." LT. Her own initials. She doesn't remember writing it. But maybe that's fitting. After all, how much of their life did she sleepwalk through, only to realize, too late, that he was still paying attention? The phone rings mid-morning Monday. An unfamiliar number with a New York area code. For a moment, she doesn't answer. Could be spam. Could be a creditor. Could be worse. Someone else trying to deliver another version of Jason she didn't know existed. She lets it go to voicemail, but curiosity drips like a leaky faucet. Eventually, she plays the message. "Hi, this is Elise Harmon. I'm a journalist with Wavelength. I'm doing a piece on quiet separations. Men who leave without confrontation. Your name came up in connection to a viral blog and a gallery exhibit. I'd love to hear your side. Please call me back if you're open to a conversation." Your name came up. That phrase sticks. Not his name. Yours. She paces the kitchen. The house feels heavier lately, like it's absorbing her restlessness. Every corner reminds her of a time she dismissed him. Every hallway echoes quieter now that even the pity texts have stopped. She doesn't call back. Not immediately. She Googles the journalist. Legit. Small, respected publication. Freelance, but serious. The kind of writer who uses soft punctuation and lets her subjects speak without correction. Still, Lauren doesn't want to be part of his narrative again. Not from the back seat, not when she's already been edited out so cleanly. So she declines. Politely. Taps out a message. "Thank you, but I won't be participating. I hope you find what you're looking for." An hour later, her curiosity gnaws a hole in her restraint. She finds the article anyway. The gentle exit. When men leave without breaking anything. She scrolls. There's Jason, not named, but unmistakably him. One of the anonymous subjects. described with poetic restraint. A man who spent years being spoken over, laughed at in front of dinner guests, and told that asking for connection was needy. A man who chose not to explode but to evaporate. She reads it twice, then a third time, and then halfway through the line that hits harder than all the rest. Jealousy isn't when you care, he says. It's when you're still trying. I stopped trying. She stares at it, screen glowing in her lap. There's no cruelty in the quote. No venom. It's not a jab, it's a eulogy. He didn't rage. He didn't beg. He didn't lash out. He stopped trying. And that was worse, because it means he reached a point where she no longer even mattered enough to hurt. The article moves on to other men, similar stories, different lives. Quiet exits. No slammed doors. No shattered dishes. Just shoes missing from the entryway. Coffee mugs gone from the rack. Contact quietly severed like a nerve snipped clean. Lauren closes her laptop. For the first time, she realizes something devastatingly simple. He didn't leave her because she was too much. He left because she was never enough to make him stay. She picks up her wineglass, doesn't drink from it, just stares through the red tint, watching the world shift behind it. Even the media sees her as the past tense now. He owns the silence. He shaped it, published it, exhibited it, let others interpret it. She's just a shadow in someone else's clean escape. And even that feels generous. It takes her 3 flights, 2 layovers, and 1 final sprint through a rain-slick terminal in Seattle to get there. Her shoes are soaked, her blouse wrinkled, hair still damp from the cab ride over. She doesn't care. The bookstore is modest, brick walls, exposed beams, that smell of paper and cinnamon someone probably sprays on purpose. Outside, a sandwich board reads, Jason Decker, in conversation plus signing. Just finished. A memoir. The title punches her in the chest. She waits. Not in line, God, no. She stays at the edge of the room, behind a display of cookbooks no one's touched in years. Watches as Jason reads a chapter aloud. People laugh, nod, lean forward in their chairs. He speaks slowly, calmly. His voice hasn't changed, but there's a new weight to it now. Not sadness, solidity, like a man who finally stopped trying to be understood. When the Q&A ends and the line snakes toward the signing table, she hangs back. One by one, they thank him, ask about the essays, compliment the gallery tie-in. She hears someone say, "It helped me leave, too." Another whispers, "That piece about the birthday dinner? That was my marriage." And still she waits, until it's just her. He's stacking Sharpies, tucking them into a pouch, when he finally looks up. They lock eyes. He doesn't flinch, doesn't smile, just waits. She steps forward. Her throat is dry. "Jason," she says. Quiet. He says nothing. "Can we talk?" A pause. He reaches for one last copy of the book, flips it open, signs it with a fluid motion, caps the pen, hands it to her. "You already asked everything you needed to," he says. Not unkind, just done. She takes the book, fingers trembling slightly. He turns back to the table, begins packing the rest of the stack into a canvas tote. Conversation over. She walks out with the book clutched to her chest, back into the cold air. In the rental car, parked under a flickering street lamp, she opens it. First page. No dedication, no preface, just a single line centered. She asked, "Are you jealous?" I answered, "No, just finished." She stares at it until the letters blur, because now she understands. That moment in the kitchen, beer bottle in her hand, smirk on her face, that wasn't the start of a fight. It was the last page of a story he'd already finished writing, and she was still busy playing the main character in a narrative that no longer included her. The final door hadn't slammed.